Well, went to Oregon State for about a year and a half before I was activated from a reserve unit.
Oh, okay.
So I was at Lower Columbia College, then went to Oregon State and joined a Naval Reserve Officer Candidate program at Oregon State. And the unit I was in was at the time drawn out of a hat, and we were activated in 1969. And I served in the Naval Reserve from 69 to 71. Well, the way it was working at the time, in 69, the Vietnam War was reaching a peak, and they came out with the lottery system for the draft, and I had a very high lottery number. So I figured the chances of me getting drafted, even though I had a college deferment at the time, was still there. So I decided, well, we'll take all the pressure off and I'll join the reserve program. Then I don't have to worry about it until after graduation. And then I would serve my time after graduation and be done. Not exactly happy, but they also felt it was a better situation than being drafted, because they were sending 100,000 guys approximately every month were being drafted, and probably a third of those were going straight to Vietnam.
Okay.
And you would have been a ground troop or armored division or something there, and that wasn't a very good situation at the time. We had to go on a 2-week cruise. We also spent 14 days in boot camp just to get a handle on what was going to be expected, what we were going to do. After boot camp, went back to college, and about the only difference was by then we all had short hair as opposed to the long hair of the day, and just kind of carried on. My father had retired from the Navy after 26 years, and you know, it didn't really bother me because I figured, you know, if I'm going to be on a boat, I'm going to be offshore. And yet, I think at the time, you know, it was expected of you to serve your country. And that was kind of drilled into you from when you were a little tiny guy, because most of our fathers in that day had served in World War II. Okay. So the military was just something you did in your life to serve your country and do as men were expected to do.
Okay.
As I was assigned to a Naval Air Squadron in San Diego, California at Miramar Naval Air Station, a squadron called VF-121, where we helped train fighter pilots. And on that base, the base had about 8,000 people on it, and they held an open call for the base basketball team. So there was probably 45 guys went to a basketball tryout, just like you would in high school or any other place. And I was lucky enough to make the base team. I was a point guard.
Point guard.
Yeah, I've always been the shortest guy, so that's pretty much where you're stuck. But that was okay. That was fine for me. Yeah, in training we had guys that were coming back from Vietnam for additional training and things like that. So we got to see and meet guys that had been there, had seen it, guys that had been wounded, guys that came home a little messed up. And yeah, definitely, it affected you. It made you understand that, you know, it is for real. It's not just on the newsreel, and It's not something that you're just reading about in the newspaper. When you see and talk to these people that are doing what they were doing and the pressures they were under, it was pretty amazing. By the time I got released and went back to school, I had grown a lot, just because of things I had seen, people I had talked to. I'm a Northwest kid, so for me to go, 90 miles away from my hometown to go to college wasn't a big deal. But when I was transferred to San Diego, which is a long way away, and I spent a Christmas down there, and I'm from a very large family. I'm one of 8 kids, and it was a real eye-opener that you're sitting there and you're by yourself. And we had one guy from Hawaii, and when we played in Hawaii, we went to his house, and he wasn't from a wealthy family by any means, but just the warmth and the family took us in. And that was probably one of the neatest things to go over there. And we're in about a 2-bedroom house, and there's 12 of us and his family of about 500, it seemed like. And big people. I mean, Eli was 6'2", 250, and probably the best basketball player I'd ever played with. He was good. Being told what to wear, where to be, what to do every day. I mean, you had, there's everything from admirals to absolute seamen. Everybody, it's a chain of command. And it's to be respected. You don't go outside of that. And it was a different way. If you're on the outside, you don't like your boss, you can leave. Well, I'm sorry, if you're in the Navy and you don't like your commanding officer, it's not like you're gonna leave. That just doesn't work that way. People looked at you a little bit different because, they thought, oh my God, what have you been doing? You're in the service. Were you over killing people and doing different things, and because you are in the military, it was kind of a real misnomer. I mean, it was the fact that you were part of the military establishment as opposed to, because there was a lot of anti-war sentiment on the campus. Vietnam, they associate that with anybody in the military, and that wasn't the case. I didn't see action. Heck, when I wasn't playing basketball, I was working in an office. Their mother and fathers worked in offices. What made them different than me? Their father were probably in the military. And, it was, everybody kind of gets caught up in the moment. And I'm very happy that I served. I feel that I did what is right. I wasn't going to be one of those that moved to Canada or burnt my draft card or something like that. I didn't think the war was right, but what was expected of me is what I was going to do. I mean, it's a privilege to live in our country, and if you have to go serve, you go, you do your best.